Some borders are drawn with rulers, others seem sketched by madmen. From a library where one foot is in the US and the other in Canada, to a pair of islands that live a day apart in time, these dividing lines defy logic and expectation. If you think borders are just boring lines on a map, just keep watching. Number 10. At first glance, Pheasant Island looks like an ordinary patch of land in the Bidassoa River, but it hides one of the most peculiar diplomatic arrangements in the world. Located between France and Spain, this uninhabited island changes sovereignty every 6 months in a centuries-old tradition known as a condominium. From February to July, it belongs to Spain. From August to January, it's French territory. The agreement was sealed in the 1659 Treaty of the Pyrenees, ending a brutal war between the two countries. Although no one lives there, the island is off-limits to the public and guarded by authorities from both sides. The handovers are still formal ceremonies with military and diplomatic presence, even if they happen like clockwork. It remains a powerful symbol of cooperation, where centuries-old enemies now pass the border baton with ritualistic grace. Number 9. Sandwiched between NATO members Poland and Lithuania, Kaliningrad Oblast is a Russian enclave that feels like a Cold War fossil stubbornly clinging to the present. Once part of Germany as Königsberg, it was handed to the Soviet Union after World War II and has stayed Russian ever since. Today, Kaliningrad is heavily militarized and plays a strategic role in Russia's access to the Baltic Sea. Despite being separated from mainland Russia by just over 410 miles from the nearest contiguous Russian territory, it houses naval bases, missile systems, and deep geopolitical tension. Locals use rubles, but they can't drive to Moscow without crossing EU borders and immigration lines. For outsiders, it's a bizarre mix of Russian architecture, Soviet leftovers, and unexpected amber beaches. In a region dominated by European integration, Kaliningrad sticks out like a geopolitical time capsule surrounded by modernity. Number 8. At the very tip of southern Africa lies a place where 4 countries almost but don't quite touch. Kazungula, an about 443-foot stretch of border between Botswana and Zambia, is a geographic oddball squeezed between Namibia and Zimbabwe. For years, it was debated whether this was a 4-country quadrupoint, but today we know it's actually 2 separate tripoints with a narrow river border in between. The countries recently joined forces to build the Kazungula Bridge, which arches over the Zambezi River in a graceful curve nearly 3,030 feet long, carefully avoiding the territories of the neighboring nations. Its unique shape isn't just about engineering, it's about dodging international incidents. Before the bridge, crossing here meant ferry rides, long waits, and legal limbo at multiple checkpoints. Now, Kazungula stands as a feat of diplomatic design, where geography, politics, and architecture meet mid-air. Number 7. For decades, a section of the India-Bangladesh border resembled a tangled mess of land swaps gone wild. The Cooch Behar enclaves were a chaotic web of 162 small land pockets, including the world's only known third-order enclave, a piece of India inside Bangladesh, inside India, inside Bangladesh. Generations of people lived in these mismatched plots, often with no citizenship, access to services, or even clear national identity. The bizarre situation was a remnant of treaties between princely states long forgotten by modern politics. In 2015, the two nations finally struck a landmark deal, exchanging land to simplify the border and reunite people with their rightful country. Thousands of residents celebrated gaining proper ID cards and government services for the first time in their lives. What once was a cartographer's nightmare is now a historic example of peaceful border resolution. Number 6. In the small border towns of Derbyline, Vermont and Stansted, Quebec, stands a building that casually straddles 2 nations, the Haskell Free Library and Opera House. Step inside and you'll find a black line running across the floor, marking the border between the US and Canada. The entrance is on the American side, while the books and stage lie in Canada, making every visit a gentle international crossing. Built in 1904 as a symbol of friendship, the library operates under a rare agreement that allows binational use without the usual border controls. But post-9/11 security has made things trickier, with watchful eyes and legal gray areas adding tension to the otherwise peaceful setting. Even so, the library remains a beloved curiosity and a quiet protest against hard boundaries. It's where literature and diplomacy meet under the same roof, page by page and seat by seat. Number 5. Tucked into a remote corner of Minnesota, the northwest angle is the only part of the continental United States that lies north of the 49th parallel. Thanks to an 18th century map-making error, this chunk of land is separated from the rest of the US and only accessible by crossing through Canada or navigating the frozen waters of the Lake of the Woods. Residents live with passports at the ready and satellite internet as their lifeline, often feeling forgotten by both Washington and Ottawa. A single one-room schoolhouse serves the handful of children, and border crossing requires checking in at remote kiosks or phoning customs agents. During the COVID-19 border closures in 2020, the region became so isolated that earlier calls for secession, most notably a 2019 petition to join Canada, briefly resurfaced in frustration. Despite the isolation, locals are fiercely proud of their quirky homeland. It's a snow-covered glitch in the matrix of geography that refuses to be anything but American. Number 4. Perched on the African continent, the Spanish cities of Ceuta and Melilla are surreal remnants of colonial ambition and modern geopolitics. These two fortified enclaves are officially part of Spain and the European Union, even though they're entirely surrounded by Moroccan territory. Towering fences lined with barbed wire and surveillance systems mark the divide between Europe and Africa, where thousands of migrants attempt crossing every year in search of asylum and opportunity. The cities have schools, tapas bars, and police stations flying the Spanish flag, yet they lie just miles away from Moroccan towns. For Spain, they're non-negotiable territories. For Morocco, they're colonial leftovers that shouldn't exist. The tension is real, but daily life continues under the shadow of walls that feel more like a frontier than a border. Ceuta and Melilla are where two continents, and two very different worlds, press uncomfortably close. Number 3. In the towns of Baarle-Hertog and Baarle-Nassau, the border between Belgium and the Netherlands isn't just complicated, it's a dizzying puzzle of enclaves within enclaves. Streets, shops, and even homes are sliced by national boundaries, with front doors determining which country's laws apply. Belgian territory is scattered in over 20 patches inside Dutch land, some of which contain Dutch counter-enclaves inside them. Restaurants might have 2 sets of opening hours, and bar owners can cleverly relocate tables across a border to dodge curfews. The line is marked right on the pavement with crosses and plaques, attracting curious tourists eager to hop between countries with a single step. Local governments have learned to cooperate in astonishingly detailed ways just to keep daily life functioning. Baarle is where international borders turn into neighborhood quirks, geopolitics rendered in sidewalk tiles and cafe receipts. Number 2. Separated by just 2.4 miles of icy Bering Strait, Big Diomede in Russia and Little Diomede in the USA are so close you can see one from the other, yet they're almost a day apart in time. That's because the international date line runs between them, making Big Diomede Tomorrow Island and Little Diomede Yesterday Island. The two islands represent the only direct land border between Russia and the United States, yet you can't just paddle across. Big Diomede is a military outpost, off limits to civilians, while Little Diomede hosts a tiny Alaskan native community clinging to the steep rocky shore. During winter, when the water freezes, people have occasionally walked across the ice, though it's illegal and dangerous. During the Cold War, these islands symbolized the razor-thin divide between superpowers. Today, they still echo that surreal tension, neighbors in distance, divided by time, politics, and an invisible line. If you like our videos, give us a thumbs up, leave a comment, subscribe, and ring the bell. It really helps. And with that out of the way, number 1. The summit of Mount Everest isn't just the highest point on Earth, it's also an international boundary. At 29,032 feet above sea level, the border between Nepal and China runs directly across the peak, splitting the roof of the world in two. Climbers from both nations converge near the top, often sharing the same icy slopes, ropes, and base camp legends. Yet even here, geopolitics finds a foothold. Teams need permits from their respective governments, and recent disputes have centered around which country measured the true height. While avalanches and altitude sickness are the real dangers, disputes over prayer flags and national pride occasionally flare up at these death-defying heights. For a few breathless minutes, climbers stand astride two nations and the edge of the atmosphere. Everest's border isn't marked by fences, it's marked by footprints frozen in the clouds. If you'd like to keep watching, check out one of these informative videos.